Wow, my God. No, is that a mermaid? Oh, my friend, we have come across those things. You had good vibes, so. My friend, take this mug. Oh, you see, good vibes, so. My friend has been telling me some story about some mermaid from where he came up from, where he was being brought up. Did you say you saw the mermaid or what happened? Yeah. Oh, in his grandmother's place, he claims he had never seen a mermaid. Please keep up with our episodes. He'll soon be telling us the story. Ah, he tells me that English people came for the mermaid. That English people. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, wow, wow, that's a crazy story. Good vibe. So, please, if you want to hear that mermaid story from my friend here, yeah, a true story from this side of the world, Africa, you can tell us the comment section.
The Bible says God regretted making man. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's a heavy one because it makes it sound like God made a mistake. Like when we hear in English the word regret, some other translations even use the word repent. It's like that makes it sound really clear that God made a mistake, but that's not the sense of the word in the original Hebrew. The original Hebrew uses a word nacham, and that word means like having lost comfort. The word Noah which is Noach, it's the same root word in both of them. And Noah is named Noah for the hope that he's going to bring comfort or rest to his people. And so when it says that God, nacham, or repented or regretted making man, what it is he had such a great love for humanity and such high hopes for humanity. It's like that consolation has been taken away from him, and now he's looking at a people that he loves that hate him with everything they are. And the next line after that is, and his heart was filled with pain. God is heartbroken. So it's not like he's sorry, but he's sorrowful. He's not repentant, but it's like he is heavy over what humanity's become.
I want you to watch what happens when I type in Revelation 9:11 in Google and then click on images. And let's look at this very first one. They were ruled by a king, the angel of the abyss. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon. And then scroll over and look at this very next one. Revelation 9:11, angel of the abyss. Does he look familiar to you? Now, we'll get back to him in a second, but first I want to revisit Revelation 9:11. They had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon. Now, I couldn't help but make the connection of Revelation 9:11 and the bottomless pit. It reminded me of something else I've seen. The 9/11 memorial of two missing buildings, for some reason, has a pit. Does that seem a little odd to anyone? And well, I couldn't help but think that his inauguration is starting on January 19th, or 119, or 9/11 backwards. And hey, he was the 45th and 47th president. 45th and the 47th. And I don't know about you, but the January 19th or 119 start date in the candlelight dinner, in the Liberty, in the Starlight Ball couldn't help but remind me of something. I was reminded of the Statue of Liberty. And well, you know who the Statue of Liberty is, right? I mean, you've seen these comparisons, right, of this painting and the statue, and how this 1848 statue of Lucifer has the chains, like the Liberty has the chains, and the 7-point crown, and the 7-point crown, and the torch, and he's holding a torch, and hey, they even kind of look alike. But you've seen the original Statue of Liberty face, right? You know, the one that looks like this. That is an absolute dead ringer for Elvis. Which brings us all the way back here. Why would someone write a book, Revelation 9:11, Angel of the Abyss, and have that as the main character? That which is, I think, no mistake who it is a tribute to. Maybe the author knows what I know. That the king that is about to be inaugurated to rule over them, beginning on 119, is not only this king, but also this king. Now you might be saying, how is any of this possible? Well, believe me, I'm going to tell you right after his face morphs seamlessly into his face. And right after you see that these dots match up with these dots. Again, perfectly, seamlessly, undeniably. And again, how is this all possible? Well, because we're living in a time period that you don't realize. A time period in the Bible referred to by Revelation 27, when Satan shall be loosed from his prison and go out to deceive the nations for a little while. And if one of these fallen angels is released for a little while to deceive the nations, don't you think it's possible that maybe the other 200 fallen angels were released? And maybe that's literally why there is a giant crater on fire in Turkmenistan that looks like something was released from the bottomless pit. And maybe that's exactly why the number of giant craters scattered all over this earth also matches 200. And maybe that's why they have such an affinity for 9/11 or 119, because it's a tribute to when they're released from the bottomless pit and given a little while to deceive all of us. And if some of you are getting mad at me over this blasphemy that you think I'm spewing, well, don't get mad at me. Jesus literally said it himself. There will be some of you standing here which shall not taste death till they see the Son of Man coming into his kingdom. And if you don't think you're living in a time where Satan is deceiving the nations, think how many people you once knew who thought they lived there and these existed and that you came from one of these. Now, just to cover my butt and not have this censored,
let's see that in an instant replay.
This is all for entertainment purposes. Of course, I know I am related to a chimpanzee. I live on a spinning ball 1,000 miles per hour. Dinosaurs were most certainly real. The Dark Ages were most certainly dark, and nothing advanced or nothing was invented for 1,000 years, and it definitely wasn't a reign of peace with Jesus Christ. There's no such thing as fallen angels, and so what? There's 200 even if there were. Again, just a complete coincidence that there just happens to be 200 craters that looks like something came up from in the ground like a geyser. These guys are most certainly not the same people, even though faces don't ever line up exactly perfectly and symmetrical like that unless they are. Him being the 45th and the 47th president and that adding up to that is just coincidence. Elvis looks nothing like the Statue of Liberty. I mean, look. He's got hair and the Statue of Liberty doesn't. And so the Statue of Liberty has chains and 7-point crown and torch and is in the Big Apple, and there's an apple at the bottom of that statue right there. I mean, coincidence. And so he's posed the same way. It's not like he's referred to as the light bearer or anything and she has the light. And so this guy on the cover of the book with Revelation 11 looks exactly like Elvis. It means nothing. And so the towers came down on 9/11, and for some reason they decided to make a giant hole as a tribute to it. That has nothing to do with Revelation 9/11 and a bottomless pit. So what? Trump's inauguration starts on 119, which is 9/11 backwards, and there's candlelight, starlight, and liberty all seeming to be tributes to Lucifer the light bearer. It's not like Donald Trump's name is actually in Revelation 9/11 or anything. And so angels often have L in it, referring to the Elohim, and it's El this and sounds like Don L. Again, just a coincidence. And so these two marks line up perfectly with those two marks. I mean, it's all just coincidence, all for your entertainment.
The animal spirits are a different type of a spirit than a human is. It's a group spirit. In order to become a human, you have to take him out of the group spirit and give it a personality and an individuality so that it can become a human. So they said one way to do that was, group spirits are like, herds of cattle, flocks of birds, hives of bees. You've seen them. They all operate with like one consciousness. That's what I mean by a group soul. One way to take the animal out of the group soul to make it an individual is love. You take an animal into your home, cat, dog, whatever, you give it an individual attention, you give it a personality, you are helping it to escalate up to becoming a human. This is how the separation takes place. Incidentally, cats see us in a very strange way. Dogs mostly operate on smell. The cat, his eyesight sees you first as an energy. Then he figures out what you are. I think that's fascinating. It explains how the animals can see ghosts when we can't. They see energy forms and then they focus in on that.
What? This is not normal. Some of these things, my friends, they are very questionable. You see? That is not a fish. I know fish. Fish don't look like that. Even the weird looking fish don't look like this. Why does this one look like Tanganos? No, it's not ordinary fish, this one. Hi! Hey, look at this. Hi. Oh my god. Hi. Oh. This one is unbelievable. Hey. Hi. My god. Oh. Hi. God. What's going on here? What type of light is this? To be honest, I'm confused.
Roger, and stand by and we'll take a look at it. We'll have to wait till Hawaii to get data, but we would like for you to wait and let us watch it.
Capcom, I'm looking right at it. It looks to be about 1.5, 2 miles wide. It's got a slow rotation.
And we have nothing for you.
Okay, we'll just keep standing by then.
Roger.
And Roy, we've left the suits locked up the way they were in the airlock. Whatever it is, it just stopped its rotation. I don't know if it's staring at us.
Are the Anunnaki the same as the fallen angels? And are they all the same as the Nordic extraterrestrials that we still see on Earth today? Let's talk about this, guys, because it's so fascinating. So first of all, let's break down who are the fallen angels. Well, according to the Book of Enoch, and specifically the Book of Watchers, the fallen angels were angels that were tasked with watching Earth. They called them the Watchers. They were supposed to watch over humanity, make sure we don't destroy the place. But then a group got together with their leader named Myaza, and he said, hey, let's go down to Earth because, you know, I'm really infatuated with these human women, and let's just mess some stuff up. They were kind of feeling rebellious, right? So they came down to Earth, and they took a lot of human wives, and they created these offspring called the Nephilim, and they taught humans a lot of stuff. They had an affinity for humans. They liked us, right? We're likable people. So they taught us sorcery and magic, and they taught us astrology, and they taught us how to make weapons and cosmetics and tool making and stuff like this. Well, this angered the gods. The gods sent down archangels to punish these other angels, kind of creating this little angel war, and then ultimately banished the fallen angels to the abyss, this pit in Earth, inside Earth, and wiped the slate clean with the Great Deluge, the Great Flood, killing all the humans and the Nephilim, minus, you know, of course, Noah and his family and the animals that, you know, they helped survive, okay? Because they liked humans. They wanted to survive. So that's the story of the fallen angels. Now, how does this contrast with the Anunnaki story? Well, it overlays beautifully, actually. So in the Anunnaki story, there's two classes of Anunnaki. You have the Anunnaki, they're all Nibiruans from Nibiru, right? But you have the Anunnaki, which are the ruling class, they're the powerful ones. And then you had the Ajiji, which was the working class. They were called the shining ones. They were described as more kind of beautiful, glowing, you know, more enlightened and spiritual. But they took orders from the Anunnaki because the Anunnaki were powerful. Now, there was this little war that happened because the Ajiji rebelled, just like the fallen angels. They said, hey, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. We're rebellious. And they came down to Earth because they were stationed in these space stations. The Anunnaki actually lived on Earth. The Ajiji lived in the moon and on Mars. They came down, they took human wives, and they created offspring. They taught humans all sorts of stuff, tool making, weapon making, sorcery, magic, all the same stuff. They had an affinity for humans and wanted us to succeed, so they actually helped engineer us and gave us more of their DNA and genetics and stuff so that we'd be more prosperous. This angered the Anunnaki. There was a battle. Anunnaki eventually ended up going back to Nibiru, and the Ajiji stayed here and, helped us after the flood to reestablish ourselves, okay? See the parallels. It's like the exact same story. Now, the reason I think that these could be also what we call the ultra-terrestrials or the Nordics is because, especially in the story of the Ajiji, they stayed behind with Enki, and they had families and wives here with the humans. They wanted us to succeed. They helped us after the flood. They helped restart civilization and all this stuff. They had a vested interest in humans, and they didn't go anywhere. They weren't welcome back in Nibiru, so they stayed here. And most UFO encounters happen around bodies of water. It's like 80% happens around bodies of water or entrances and exits to Earth, meaning like caves, volcanoes, mountain ranges, that kind of stuff. So it paints this picture where these beings that we see, like when people describe being in these craft, these UFOs, oftentimes they describe these like tall humanoid people that they say look like Nordics, okay, kind of glowing, kind of shining. They used to call these the shining ones back in the day. Same descriptions. And a lot of times they'll tell them things like, stop messing with nukes, clean up the environment, these kinds of things. Like, why would an extraterrestrial say that? Why would they come millions of light years to our planet and say, hey guys, y'all should clean up your rivers and streams? It doesn't make any sense. That would only make sense if they lived here, okay? Now, why would an extraterrestrial race live here? Well, if you read the Book of Enoch, and if you read, all of the cuneiform and Sumerian tablets and everything, it tells you they, were part of the Anunnaki. They came down here, and after working here for hundreds of thousands of years, side by side with us, they began to like us, and they wanted to help us out. They actually started the development of what we are, Homo sapiens sapien, this more advanced thinking type of human. And they are responsible for us being who we are. And they are responsible for the fact that we are still here after the flood. And I think that they've been responsible for us surviving so many of these cataclysms and asteroids and all these things over the years. I think they're still here today. And I think that they are helping us. Back in the day, if you look at like ancient art from, Sumer and Egypt and this kind of stuff, they would show the big guys with the little guys, like the little humans with these big guys. The gods used to live with us side by side and helped us get on our feet. But after a while, I think that they said, okay, you guys got this. And they're inside the Earth now or in Mars. But I think they're still influencing and helping us in certain ways. And that's what I would call these ultra-terrestrials, these Nordics, these craft and these ships that we see everywhere, these spheres that are interacting with us in mostly positive ways. I'm not talking about the Greys and some of the other things. I'm talking about, mostly the Nordics, which people oftentimes will call like Pleiadians or Arcturians, that kind of stuff. I think that, that's what these are. They're, AKA fallen angels, AKA watchers, AKA the Ajiji from the Anunnaki story, and AKA the Nordics. I think they're all the same. And I think that this kind of explains how they got here, why they're here, why they're helping us, and why there might also be another faction that's not helping us. Because remember, this all started with like a rebellious breakaway from the group, So anytime you break away rebelliously from the group, that means there's another part of the group not happy with what you're doing. And I think that's what we're seeing. That's the battle, right? We're just kind of caught in the middle of it. Pretty fascinating. Let me know what you guys think. Have a beautiful day. Peace.
All right, I'm about to explain your entire existence in a way you've never heard it before. Do not skip this video. I repeat, do not skip this video. All right, so your entire reality is made up of these three things. First off, we have light itself, which is light waves, or also called spirit, which is what moves through you. We also have darkness, which can be also called creation or particle. This is like objects you see in front of you. This is the mind. Next, we have the body, which can also be called your unique lens or your soul. This is what you view reality through. Your body is special because it's both light and particle. It is both of these at the same time. This can be called non-duality, but you can also be referred to as duality. The reason for this is as a human, you are one with everything, but you are also separate from everything. You can also say that you are the creator, but also the creation itself. In your experience, as you go throughout life, light is passing through you. These waves of energy pass through every human that you see in your experience. Yes, the same waves pass through every single person. But it's what we do with these waves, our interactions with them, that create our experience. These waves can also be referred to as energy in motion or emotion. When you have reality moving through you in this form, it is called allowing. You are not resisting the flow of reality passing through you. This means light can pass through you effortlessly. This is also called enlightenment. Enlightenment is just the amount of light that passes through your body, and the rate at which it passes through can also affect your experience. Being more open means that more light can pass through you at a time, meaning that reality is experienced at a faster rate and you also see more of it. Someone who allows light to pass through them in this way without any resistance whatsoever could be equated to Jesus walking on water. Because of the waves, they look like water. In this energy here, you can also have thoughts passing through the mind, but these thoughts are not disrupting you. You are observing the mind. You are allowing thoughts to pass through you without resisting the natural flow of thoughts that come up in you. The desires that flow into your mind, you do not resist them. So you are having thoughts, but they are just naturally flowing through you. Versus, as I said before, we also have particle. When there is a thought that you resist in your experience, when there's a thought that doesn't naturally pass through you, what happens is you create this sort of line down the body where you block the flow of energy through you. Essentially, you pause your reality, you pause the flow of things, which is why a lot of people say they feel stuck in life. What thoughts do normally is that they separate light. They create a sort of cut in the natural flow of energy, or a break, you could say. Once you release a thought, what happens is that thought then returns to a wave again. This is also what we call collapsing reality. We form a particle in our mind, we have a thought, and then we allow it to collapse back into a wave, and it continues on passing through as energy once again. What you may notice is that it looks like a line is being crossed here. Essentially, this is like Jesus in the Bible. Your old reality, or the old version of you, is being collapsed in that moment. So now a new version of you, new energy can flow in. This is also why in the Bible, where they say Jesus returns 3 days later, they're actually referring to the fact that Jesus returns not in the past, the present, but in the future. Essentially, the past is becoming the future. What you left behind, that version of you that you decided on, that thought that you decided on, flows through you and then returns to you later on. The reason for this is because life is like a cycle. Everything moves in a circular motion. A way I used to describe it in my older videos was that you leave a checkpoint behind you. Think of you running on a running track and you have a checkpoint behind you, and now you're going to go around the track and you're going to meet that checkpoint again in the future, and that will now be your future reality, but expanded. On top of this, you can meet it faster in so-called time, the sooner you let go of it and the faster you can move forwards. And forwards motion, forwards action is really just allowing energy once again to pass through you. This means being able to move on to the next thought, to be able to let go of the current thought that you're stuck on. If you have a problem you're stuck on, you let it go. You don't hang on to the problem, because you can never find the solution if you keep staring at the problem. You have to let it go so that the solution can come back around to you. You have to let go your experience that you want to experience so that you can experience it. If you keep observing it, you keep it in this particle form and you stop energy from passing through you. Now, I said earlier, if you want to experience your desired reality faster, then what you have to do is you have to create a larger magnetic field. The more that you allow light to pass through the body, the more you allow it to move through you easily without disruption, you start to create this larger magnetic field. Once again, all you can think of it as is a portal that's getting bigger and you're allowing more and more light to move through you at one time. At the same time, as you're doing this, you are in the present moment. You're paying attention to your current experience, because to allow anything to pass through you, you have to be in the present moment. You have to be paying attention to what you're doing right now. To be in the present moment is to allow. Staying present or grounded starts to create this larger magnetic field around you, because you create a pinpoint in time or a focal point for everything to move around. If you're constantly in your mind thinking thoughts and you're not grounded at the same time, what happens is this field gets smaller and it gets chaotic, because now it's harder to tell where this specific point is where you are. So reality is not circling around you evenly. You can look up the uncertainty principle if you want to know what I'm talking about here. It's harder to pinpoint a particle when you are moving around all the time. So essentially, think of yourself in the present moment. You're right here, you're paying attention to what you're doing, you're in the moment. And then as you're in this moment, this field is growing bigger and bigger and bigger around you. And then what's happening now is this field you're creating is now pulling things in towards you. It's pulling your reality into the middle towards you. Light is being bent or pulled towards the present moment. You can also think of it as someone giving you a hug. It's like the arms, your past and future are the arms of the body, and they're getting wrapped around you. The past and the future are becoming one around you. So now this circle we saw earlier with the checkpoint becomes smaller. You no longer have to travel so far around the circle to reach your checkpoint because you pulled reality in towards you. So now the checkpoint becomes much smaller. The circle you have to travel becomes much smaller, meaning you experience your experience you want to have much, much faster, as in it could almost be in the present moment that you experience it because you're pulling it in towards you rather than what most people do is that they chase it around this big circle, not being in the present moment. They chase their experience, never meeting up with it because it keeps moving away from them. Versus if you stay in the present moment and you just pull things in towards you, they come to you. You don't have to go anywhere to get it. It comes to you. Just to explain thoughts a little bit more to you, think of this energy passing through you, this light, as these waves, and then every thought you have is a thought of creation. Like this is solid right here, this is light, and you're creating these boxes in your mind every single time that you have a thought. So you have these lines with empty space in between each of them. It pretty much looks like a film reel from a movie. Now, as I just said, there's empty spaces here. So what happens is your higher self then comes in and it fills in these gaps between your thoughts to make for a full experience. As in, multiple thoughts are connected by experiences that are interjected into the light by the higher mind. So the light that's right here, more thoughts are interjected into here. More experiences for you to have are interjected to connect the thoughts so that they make sense. This could also be called co-creation. You're creating with your higher self. So you create the thought that you want to experience, and then the higher self interjects all of these connecting things to make it make sense. This is also called the Bridge of Incidents by Neville Goddard. So all these little dots here are just more thoughts. They're more experiences that are coming in to fill the gap. And you also can think of this as how solid objects are formed. All these particles building up right here creates solid experience. It creates a box that's filled with a bunch of particles. This is also what expansion is. Your higher mind takes your thought and adds on to it to connect it with the next. It can also look like this, like a flip book of pictures, just a bunch of lines that you're experiencing very, very quickly. Reality is just like a series of photos. Ultimately, this is what it ends up looking like. This is basically a black hole that expands and contracts just like the Big Bang that happens over and over and over. You have both particle and you have wave, so you constantly have the past becoming the future and the future becoming the past. You have both light over here with expansion and you have particle down over here. As they say, matter and energy are interchangeable. We always hear people say, I'm pushing myself. I'm pushing yourself. We have pulled backwards, getting pulled backwards into the black hole. Going down the rabbit hole, we have hitting rock bottom. We also have people saying the light at the end of the tunnel. All you're really doing your entire life is rearranging creation into the order that you like it to be in. You're taking what already exists and expanding it outward so you can see more of it. That's it. That's reality.
Oh, interesting. That's just wonderful. Did you know all that you've just come across? Hmm? Did you? Tell us in the comment section. Those crazy things in the sky, from where you come from, have you seen them? Well, inform us in the comment section. Let us know, my friends. You see, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I've been White311H. It's been a pleasure being with you. I thank you for your time, for good vibes, and for hitting that like button. May God bless you abundantly. Hear what the Book of Wisdom tells us. For God does speak, now one way, now another, though man may not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, as they slumber in their beds, he may speak in their ears and terrify them with warnings, to turn man from wrongdoing and keep him from pride, to preserve his soul from the pit, his life from perishing by the sword. Or a man may be chastened on a bed of pain with constant distress in his bones. This is wonderful. That is from Job 33:14 going down. Surely, my friends, God does speak in different ways, you see. And when us we are spreading love, my friend, we are extending God's want and love to the whole world. So interesting. So let's give thanks to our Creator. Ask for them to always speak to us randomly and their guidance in our day-to-day lives. Thank you, wonderful Father, for this far. Thank you, dear Lord Father, for your goodness. Thank you for the videos that we have just watched, Father. Thank you for all those souls involved in those videos. Thank you, dear Lord Father, for today's viewer, your child that you've been watching the videos together with. Thank you for their lives, Father. Thank you, dear Lord Father, for the life changing miracles, Father, that will pass to them through the end of these videos, Father. Dear Lord, may you always be with us. Forgive us our sins, Father. Lead us in your ways, dear Lord, and help us to know you more. Dear Lord, may this video impact the lives of all those that shall see it with your goodness and love, Father. Dear Lord, also help us to grow in numbers as a family, happiness headquarters, and to increase, Father, in knowing you more. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Till next time, wonderful soul, peace and love be with you. Bye bye. Good vibes. Where?